Hey guys, Charles Floate here and welcome to my State of Link Building in 2019 video. In today's video, I'm going to be going through my presentation from the SERPS Birmingham 2019 event. This presentation was actually from exactly a month ago. Last month I hosted our DFY Link SERPS Birmingham event in Birmingham, United Kingdom. It went down really well. We had nearly 100 attendees and it was a fantastic day for both the VIP and the Mastermind event. I wanted to make sure that my presentation for that event was allowed to be consumed and allowed to be analysed and allowed to be used a month in advance of the rest of my audience being able to see this presentation. I did actually do a much toned down version of this presentation of Vietnam SEO as well, but I wanted to make this presentation way more fleshed out and be able to give you guys a real insight into the link building in 2019. So for those of you that is my first time on my YouTube channel, a little bit about me. I've been an SEO for 10 years now. I'm from the United Kingdom. I've been SEO blogging for about 6 years, originally from my God of SEO blog and onto my charlesfloate.com blog, and now I blog pretty much exclusively at dfylinks.com/blog. I also run a small affiliate empire, so I have a ton of affiliate websites that I generate commissions from using SEO tactics, generally grey hat and black hat SEO tactics. But I do a lot of white hat as well for clients and client work. I'm kind of an all-round jack of all trades SEO. So I wanted to go through and show some results from this year from my link building expertise. This one is a really good example because it's from dfylinks.com. As you can see, this site actually only launched around March of 2019, and it went from 0 to over 120 or so visits per day in the space of about 4 months' time. Considering SEO is quite a small niche in comparison to the rest of the internet, the monthly search volumes for SEO related keywords are fairly small in comparison to other niches. That's actually a really good figure, and that traffic is converted into tens and tens of thousands of dollars of backlink sales for me and my team. So these are some other results from this year. Generally, all of my affiliate websites are in the United States. I do some foreign sites, so I have a few sites in the Scandinavian countries, generally because they have high CPA payouts. But generally, most of my websites are going to be focused on the United States of America due to the absurd amount of people and the absurd amount of money that is over there. So as you can see, these are some of my results from this year. You wouldn't be able to get this kind of turnaround time and this kind of speed of ranking for results without using link building techniques. On page doesn't get you this unless you launch a website that just has tons and tons of content very, very quickly. It just doesn't get you these kinds of results for websites. But generally, those kinds of content websites, there's only so many keywords you can target, and you won't rank really high for the major keywords using that. You need the link building aspect to actually rank for major keywords. Over the last 2 years or so, generally since the Medic update of August last year, Google has been releasing the ALGOPOCALYPSE. They've been releasing so many algorithm updates, it's literally hard to keep track anymore. And you'll see your SERP and rank trackers going all over the shop every other week nowadays because Google is releasing so many different algorithm updates. That being said, not all of the algorithm updates are that much different from each other, and there's a general pattern that you can follow of what Google are trying to achieve with these Google algorithm updates. And to be fair, a lot of these algorithm updates haven't been as effective as Google have wanted them to be, allowing hacked and spammed sites to be able to actually outrank legit real websites. There's been a lot of talk about the Viagra niche because a lot of health specific websites have been getting hacked, a page has been getting injected on there, and because they're a health authority, it ranks on page one for Viagra terms, but obviously it's a hacked and inserted page. It shouldn't rank because it hasn't got any of the internal links on the page, etc., etc. But it does just because of the trust that Google has for that niche. Generally, algorithms have been changed to be niche and SERP specific. So this is something that has changed over the while. Granted, there have been things like the payday loans update, which just affected the payday loans niche because it was that spammy. But this is the actual difference where Google's algorithms are actually independently differing from each other depending on the niche that you're going into. If you're going into the health niche in the UK, for example, it's going to be very, very, very different from the finance niche in America. That's because Google are looking at different signals and different points and different data sources depending on the niche, because Google's been able to better understand the niches and the industries, the terminology, the context, and the authorities within those niches. Link building needs to be specific. This isn't always the case. If you're building links from, the New York Times or those kinds of huge, large publications, they don't actually need to be on niche-specific pages that much. But if you're building links from like DA10, DA20, DA30, 30 blogs. They really need to be specific nowadays. It's not going to cut it building links from mommy blogs anymore. It needs to be niche relevant at the domain and at the page level nowadays. On page gets you dinged more often than links. This is generally just because more people are doing on page nowadays than they are doing links, and Google's algorithm seems to be more focused on the actual quality of the websites themselves than the quality of the links pointing at them nowadays. So Google's algorithm updates this year specifically have really targeted on page. They haven't done a whole ton of link building algos this year. It's been a lot of trust signals and a lot of content optimization and a lot of that kind of thing in the algorithm updates nowadays, but you just have to kind of keep up to date and try and test things. This is which is what I'm saying as well. Don't be reactive, be proactive. You need to future-proof your sites. I have seen so many posts in the Facebook group where someone has got their website hit. Someone has then contacted them privately. They've revealed the domain name, and it was a scholarship links, or it was something that was in the news 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. You need to be informed. You need to be reactive so that you're keeping your website as future-proofed as possible, and you need to make sure that you're not using outdated tactics, and you need to make sure that you're not using tactics Google are going to be heavily coming after. Don't be reactive, be proactive, especially with your link building. So let's take an actual look at the state of link building as a whole itself. We'll be going through each of these individual points throughout this presentation, but I wanted to give you an overall summary of what we're going to be covering in this presentation as we go along. So first of all, anchor texts are easier to get wrong than right. This is just true. SEOs, it's so easy to mess up your anchor text nowadays that it's just better to be safe than sorry. Link velocity greatly depends on your site and how many pages you have on your site and the trust signals your site is having. If you've got a brand new domain with 3 pages, I don't recommend building 150 referring domains at it, even if they're really high quality within the first month. It really isn't a good idea. You need to be logical and think about how an algorithm is going to define the link velocity to your page, and then also look at trust signals, because Google does take into factor that some pages go viral, some pages get a lot of links inbound because of that virality. So I call it the viral factor, that you need to look at ways to manipulate it so that Google can trust your website enough to be able to have enough links pointed at it to actually rank you. Authority beats relevance. This is something that I talked about a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, if you're getting DR90 links, I would rather have DR90 links on the BBC or the New York Times than I would have a DR40 link on, even if it's on a niche specific blog. It just comes down to the fact that those links are going to be stronger. Trust signals first. This is something that a lot of people don't do, but when you are first initially doing the SEO of a brand new domain or a brand new website, you need to look at the trust signals that website has. Otherwise, Google is going to potentially penalize your website just for doing on-page tactics and being over-optimized, as Google calls it. Foreign and even English language foreign is different. So foreign algorithms, they're different, and even English language foreign is different, and I'll be proving that and explaining how they are and how you can even manipulate it to your advantage later on this presentation. So my recommendation for English language anchor text optimization is you go with branded anchors for all of your site, including linking to your supporting content. You use the article name of the supporting content or something relevant to that end as your anchor text. Across the board, so that it looks very white hat, it looks very clean, because anchor text is still the number one way Google are finding your website, along with the fact that Google have found backlinks that people are paying for, or Google have found backlinks that look hacked or spammed. So brand anchor text with on-page powering your keywords. What does on-page powering your keywords mean? This means that you're going to have optimized money pages, and you're going to have optimized supporting pages that internally link with exact match anchors. So instead of doing exact match and partial match external backlink anchors, you're going to do exact match and partial match internal links to your money pages from your supporting content, and then you're going to link to those pieces back to your money pages, and it's going to pass the juice from those supporting pieces, which you're going to link to with cheap but safe links, and then you're going to pass the juice back down through those anchor texts to the money page with the exact keyword that you're trying to rank for. It's a lot more safe strategy. We haven't had any sites hit using this strategy, and it's just the way that you should be doing anchor text in 2019, because Google is looking for aggressive use of anchor text, because it's a clear sign that an SEO did this campaign. That being said, anchor text for foreign, you want to be way more aggressive. You want to be less aggressive for the US and UK and make it look like no one has touched the anchor text, no one is manipulating an anchor text profile for US, UK, Canada, Australia, etc. But for foreign, you want to go all out. So as an example of people being more aggressive for foreign niches, this is the #1 website. Everyone knows it. It's Caesars Casino in Las Vegas for online casino in the United States. It's the US as your anchor text for #1 for online casino. It also actually comes up in the United Kingdom as well, actually, for online casino, surprisingly enough. But basically, as you can see, the anchor texts are almost entirely branded with a 2% referring domain count of online casino, and some variants along the way with Caesars Casino Online and Caesars Online Casino, etc., making up another 5% or so. But you can see the majority, about 70 to 80%, is branded anchor text, and that's the exact kind of anchor text profile that you're wanting to get in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. That being said, in foreign, this is the #1 site in Norway that's ranking for loans. So as you can see, for Brusklon, however you can say that in Norwegian, I'm sorry for butchering your language, I think that means loans, and then Billing Florbutton means today loans or something, I believe. I'm so sorry for the Norwegians, can correct me in the down below, but all of those 3 highlights anchor texts are exact match keywords. Those are keywords with tens of thousands of monthly searches and potentially a €50 CPC, because this is Norway, remember, and this is the finance niche. So it's crazy high CPAs and high CPCs in Norway. The anchor text on here is just out of this world ballistic. It's about 40% to 50% exact match anchor text. If you did this in the US or UK, you would be instantly penalised. But as you can see, you want to be way more aggressive with foreign, because foreign sites, very simply, still get away with murder. Even if it's still in English language, you can still get away with more in google.com.vn than you can in google.com or google.co.uk. You can get away with so much more in English language foreign SERPs than you can, and it's very simple. All you have to go is go to a foreign, specifically Asia, Latin America, Africa, etc. Go to a Google TLD of one of those natures, put in an English type phrase, and I guarantee you, one of the major keywords such as Viagra, online casino, etc., hack sites and spam sites will fill those SERPs, because Google's English language algorithm is 110% different to its US, UK, etc. algorithm, even though it's the same language. So you want to go about actively over-optimizing your sites in foreign language, because Google simply cannot understand the context nearly as well as English, and you can just get away with it, and you can rank and you can make a lot of money for very cheap, affordable ways of doing that. Now, link velocity is still one of the most understood parts of SEO, and it's still one of the easiest way to notify Google that an SEO has been here and SEO has built a ton of links at this website. So nofollow and dofollow are different for velocity, and yes, for the last time, nofollow links do count towards your velocity and do count towards your rankings. They may not pass juice, but they do pass other signals that Google has said they do use in their algorithm, and Google are going to be changing the nofollow directive to be a hint. So it's potentially not even going to be a future where nofollow links are actually going to be passing juice. So it's an interesting time basically to see how that goes. But nofollow and dofollow are different for velocity, and you can get away with doing more nofollow links than you can do dofollow. Velocity does depend page by page and the site-wide number of pages. So if you're building 30 links in a month at one page, that's probably a bad idea. But if you're building 30 links at 30 different pages, so one link per page over the course of 30 days, then that's perfectly fine. It just very much so depends on the number of pages that you have on the website, how old the website is, and as well trust signals, which is our last point. Trust signals are things like the domain age, the EVSSL certificate, and all sorts of additional factors as well that come into Google's trusting a website, including who links you, such as the Wikipedia and BBC, who both use nofollow links nowadays. So authority versus relevance. When it comes to authority versus relevance, relevance is more important the less authority, and vice versa. So domain and page level relevance is more important the less authority you have. So if you're getting a DA10, DA15 blog that is nothing to do with your site and you're linking it to your site, that link probably isn't going to pass much of a signal. But if you are getting a link from the New York Times or the BBC that has absolutely nothing to do with your site, that link is still going to pass a signal because of this sheer authority that those sites have. But again, authority doesn't mean DA or DR. I don't mean the Moz metric domain authority, and I do not mean the Ahrefs metric domain rating. I mean the Google metric of how they define an authoritative website. A website with lots of traffic, a website with lots of authority, lots of links, a well-respected website that's had a lot of time to establish itself and build up its portfolio of content and links over a lot of time. time. Ideally, in a perfect world, you want both. So you want to have authority and relevance. So you want to have really high authority links that are really relevant on both the domain and page level. But that isn't a perfect world that we do live in. So unfortunately, you want to go for authority first. You want to go for those really high authority links first. They just offer more value than anything else. So link building trust signals. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. There are differences between generalized trust signals such as an EVSSL certificate and domain age and actual link building specific trust signals. These are link proof and social proof like Wikipedia, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, all of these kinds of engaging websites that have an audience that people go to and they share your website and they link to your website that gives it a trust that allows Google to say that this website is authentic. This website has the ability to rank and has the ability to offer something to our end users. So link building trust signals are different for overall trust signals, but there are things like Wikipedia, things like BBC, anything that's nofollow with high authority and high traffic, and social proof, so things like Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Things that are indexable by Google, and Google can see that people are engaging with your content and engaging with your pages on these websites. So foundational trust signals are the basis for my thesis on modern day black hat SEO. Modern day black hat SEO is where you manipulate Google's pre-planned trust signals, link velocity and additional elements such as schema and their content algorithms such as natural language processing algorithms to be able to manipulate and rank in Google's search engine results pages. So modern day black hat is manipulating all of these different signals in a way that makes Google think you're an authentic, think you're a website that's worthy of ranking. And to be honest, the best way to do that is make yourself a website that is worthy of ranking. So every time you start a new site, you always want to start with foundational trust signals or start with trust signals in general. You want to have your domain registered for several years. You want to have an EVSSL certificate. You want to have a fair amount of content that is authoritative, that is well done on the website to start it off. Don't start your website off with Fiverr content anymore. This isn't a few years ago. Google's content algorithms have gotten good enough that they can potentially understand the context and the way a website speaks, the way a website works. So make sure you are going with decent amount of content, otherwise a decent quality and a decent amount of content to kick things off, as well as things like links. So the initial links that your website should be getting is social signals. These websites, social profiles, sorry. These websites are websites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, Pinterest, Quora. Any website that you can get a link on that is going to tell Google this is a website that is a brand, this is a website that is an entity, and this is a website that is a real business on the internet. As well as things like the actual site itself. So domain age is a lot of spammers will buy domains for a year, 2 years, and they won't register after a certain amount of time. So Google actually goes ahead and checks the domain age and makes sure that that people are a real website, a real entity, because that real entity isn't going to let that domain expire anytime soon. And last, but by far my probably most asked question is about the disavow tool. Should you use it? In my opinion, you should only use the disavow tool if you've been hit with an actual manual penalty. So if you've got a notification in your inbox that you've been hit with a penalty, that's the only time that I ever use them. Otherwise, using the disavow tool is an indicator. If you've got hit by an algorithm update, so you've seen a 10%, 15% traffic loss, and Google thinks you're using links that are manipulated, going and telling Google that you are using links that are manipulated is a very good signal to get your website actually penalised in the end result, or at least have Google send a manual reviewer to go and look at your website. So those are the only conditions that I use the disavow tool on, is when I get hit with a manual penalty. Otherwise, it is a very clear indicator to Google that you have been doing something bad, or you are an SEO that knows what they're doing, because only SEOs really know about the disavow tool. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching my presentation. This presentation was again taken from our Search Birmingham event hosted last month. We are actually going to be bringing it back for next year, so stay tuned for that. Tickets should be available in January of 2020. You can check out myself on Twitter at Charles_SEO, on Facebook.com/TheCharlesFloat, CharlesFloat.com, and of course DFYlinks.com. I've been Charles Float. Thank you for listening. Peace.